Other big issues this week. The Commission of Inquiry into State Capture continued today with the former SAA Technical Chair on the stand. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo engaged vigorously with her. But the Zondo Commission, as it has become known, may be facing a threat. Former President Jacob Zuma is under subpoena to appear at the Zondo Commission on the 16th of November. But it's likely that his legal team will formally ask the chair to recuse himself after a suggestion of bias. Zondo has reportedly admitted that he had a love child with the sister of Jacob Zuma's wife. To discuss this, as well as the pending address by the President to the nation this week, we're joined by Professor Dirk Kotze from the Department of Political Sciences at Unisa. Professor, thank you for being with us. Before we get to the Zondo Commission, looking back at the weekend, can you comment on the DA elections? John Steenhuisen, the undisputable winner, but there have been concerns about the DA's performance in upcoming elections, their attractiveness to black voters. Just tell us what you think this means for the future of the party.
Yes, I think you're very much correct with identifying these matters as concerns or as challenges for the DA, matters that they certainly will have to pay attention to. It is very much, we know political parties are about how to mold or how to form public opinion. So it deals with perceptions in the first instance. It's not about reality necessarily, but it's how people on the ground and voters understand reality and perceive that. And the DA specifically has to deal with a lot of perceptions. For example, about the fact that many see it as or present it as a white party, or as a party on the right, or as a capitalist party, or as a party which is not sort of embedded in the South African situation, but rather looking at liberalism from outside South Africa. So these are all major challenges for them. But I think what John Steenhuisen's agenda is, as he presented it to the public over the weekend, is to say, first of all, we must get some more discipline within the party. So it's not about lofty ideals in the first instance. It's actually to be able to work as a team and not to fight each other on social media and other platforms. Yeah. Secondly, I think he's now much more upfront about the policies of the DA. They talk about liberalism in a very unapologetic sense. He's talking about the idea that the state must be pushed back because he said it's the state power versus people power. And especially in his speech after his election as leader, he emphasized it how many times. The idea that the people of South Africa must be the center of attention. Almost the sovereignty of South Africa must be in the people and not in political institutions. Yeah. So I think that in itself gives it a more of a purpose, a more of a focus. Not everyone will like it, and there's going to be lots of criticism about it, and it's a major task. I think the main task for the DA is how to communicate that to the general South African public, and that it becomes an other narrative. For very long, the ANC dominated the political narrative, and the main challenge for the DA is to create another political narrative that can really contest with it.
Yeah. Well, down the line, I mean, is he the man to deal with those perceptions that you spoke about? Like you say, he adheres to sort of classical liberalism. He says we fight for these sort of principles, but can he deal with those softer perceptional issues, especially because Helen Zille has been reappointed?
Yes, that is one of, I think, is going to be one of his sometimes headaches, is how to deal with the different personalities within the leadership of the DA. Another challenge, but not necessarily in a negative sense, is how to incorporate Mbali and Tuli into his bigger plan of the DA. Also, he cannot afford to let her stay in KwaZulu-Natal and seen as being a loser of this federal Congress. At the same time, I think what counts in his favor, especially for the local government election, is that the ANC is in trouble in most local authorities. Many of them are under administration. And therefore, the message of the DA is very much sort of trying to exploit these current weaknesses of the DA in terms of not good governance or bad governance, really. So if it's predictable that they will present their record at local government level in different parts of the country as the alternative. So they will most possibly try to get away from the big politics and the big policy matters, and rather say, well, at local government level, what matters is about service delivery, about local infrastructure, and about local economic development. So it's going to be a contestation about the different messages. The ANC, I guess, will have more of a national and more of a policy type of messages, and they will have more on the ground sort of governance, local governance type of message.
All right, we wait and see. Thank you for that. Let's move to the Zondo Commission. Do you think with these claims of bias, former President Jacob Zuma's lawyers will probably bring forward an application for Zondo himself to recuse himself? Does the Commission face an existential threat here, or do you think this will blow over?
No, I don't think that it will cause a major problem for the Commission. I think the fact that President Zuma in a sense, notified well in advance that they are going to do it. His tactics most possibly was to try to paralyze the Commission, of keeping them in the dark about what's going to happen. But I think Judge Zondo, in a sense, preempted it by making his own statement. And it's the sort of the novelty value of it, or the surprise value of when he would have come and said, well, this is one of my objections to you, that has now already been addressed. So it will be interesting to see to what extent they still will continue with it. But I think what is the main purpose of it is that of delaying the process, because they will most possibly want to argue the case in front of Judge Zondo. Then he will have to consider it and come to his conclusion. And that is all taking time. It eats up the time that President Zuma is supposed to appear before the Commission. And we know the Commission's mandate will end in March next year. So I think it's still continuing with the strategy of trying to see how they can win time and not really come to the essence of the issues.
Yeah, that's been called the Stalingrad strategy that has been used before. So he will probably take it on appeal. There'll be a review, another appeal. Do you think it'll be delayed beyond March next year? I mean, what does a lengthy delay mean for the Commission and the Commission's work? And I guess South Africans actually want to see meaningful change here. People arrested, maybe parallel. There are some arrests happening. Is that a good thing? The Hawks and the MPA can still continue their work in tandem.
Yes, but I don't expect the Commission to go into a recess while this matter is before them. They will continue to be able to hear the other witnesses. It is only with respect to President Zuma that there might be some form of delay. So the work will, in essence, continue of the Commission. And I think, obviously, the President Zuma is supposed to be the prime witness that they will have to listen to. He has been there before, but I think what is for them very important is that he must respond to what other witnesses, about quite a number of witnesses, have claimed or said or accused him of. So it is, in a sense, his right of reply. That is the situation here that he must be able to use. But if he doesn't use it, I think in the end it will jeopardize him and not so much the Commission, because he will then lose the opportunity to be able to defend himself or to clarify himself. Yeah. So in the end, I would say it's not a real major existential challenge to the Commission. It's rather some tactics from President Zuma's side in order to keep out of the Commission.
All right, we'll watch that one. Our final topic, President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to address the nation this week. He has poured cold water on the idea of a higher lockdown level. There was some speculation that South Africa may be heading towards another lockdown. What are you expecting?
I'm still expecting that he's going to talk about it, and I hope that what he will do is to, in a sense, reprimand us all that we must not become complacent about the virus. and that there's clearly an increase in the incidences of those who have tested positive. And that what we are seeing in the Northern Hemisphere, we should try to avoid at all costs. I mean, the UK is now exactly going into a lockdown. France is also in that situation, and Germany to some extent also. So it's in a sense a warning for us to try to avoid that for the future. And I think given the approach of the government of trying to keep us at a certain level of restrictions over a very long period since March, and that it has worked to some extent. I'm not talking about the economic implications, but the pandemic's implications. That he doesn't want to lose the advantages that the government have worked for over a very long period. So I think he's going to have a stern warning given to all of us about the possible implications, and that we must, in terms of our social behavior, we must be able to change, to turn around, and be much more cautious about it. I mean, even in a more extreme case, make, for example, the wearing of masks obligatory, and also other forms of social distancing. It might be that he will have announce some measures, not lockdown per se, but rather in terms of bigger meetings or congregations, that should have some limits on them. So that is in essence what I expect of him.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your time tonight. That was political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze.